Hi, my name is Autif Kamal. This is another workshop on logic and reasoning. This one is on propositions. In particular, it's on converting what I'm calling a standard causal sentence or statement to a conditional proposition. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback to give me, you could send that to my Skype username or my email address. My Skype username is autif.kamal. My email address is projectoptimization@gmail.com. Okay, so just below justify, you'll see what I'm calling a standard causal sentence. It says he's bleeding because he scraped his arm. Okay, and you'll notice directly below that I have a conditional proposition, except the subject is more generic. Instead of referring to someone in particular, like he, I'm just saying person. I'm being generic. If a person scrapes their arm, that's the cause. They will bleed. Now ask yourself this. In every case that a person scrapes their arm, will they bleed? Does that happen in every case? Could there be a case where a person scrapes their arm but they don't bleed? If your answer is yes, that there is a case in which a person scrapes their arm but they do not bleed, then the next question you should ask yourself is, what is special about this standard causal statement that this person bled in this case? What was special about how they scraped their arm? That's a question that this should lead you to. So just to clarify, the benefit of converting a standard causal sentence or statement into a conditional proposition is, number one, to highlight a generalization that is inherent in the standard causal sentence, and it's also to lead you to ask a further question to get more details about the cause of that standard causal statement. Okay? Here's another example. So the standard causal sentence is, we should preserve the warehouse because it represents who we are as people. The conditional proposition is, if a facility represents who we are as people, we should preserve them. So I took out warehouse and put in facility because facility is a generic term for warehouse. Warehouse is a particular kind of facility. Now, for this conditional proposition, you want to ask yourself, in every case that a facility represents who we are as people, should we preserve it? Now, if you can think of a case when you should not preserve a facility which represents who you are, then the next question you should ask is, what is special about how this warehouse represents us as people that we should preserve it? Okay, so you have the generic assumption in the form of a conditional proposition, and then the question that leads you to regarding what's special about the cause that is representing us as people, that we should preserve it, preserve the warehouse. Okay, here's an example or an exercise for you to do on your own. You have a standard causal statement and you need to convert it into a conditional proposition, and that conditional proposition should have a generic term. That generic term, to get that generic term, you need to identify the subject in the standard causal statement and then make it generic in the conditional proposition. Okay? If you need more time, you can pause the video. Otherwise, I'm going to move on to the answers. Okay, so the standard causal statement is, becoming shocked to loud noises as a behavior was conveyed to future generations because it has a biological advantage. The generic conditional proposition, which highlights the general assumption, is, if a behavior has a biological advantage, it will be conveyed to future generations. Now ask yourself, is it true that in every case that a behavior has a biological advantage, that it will be conveyed to future generations? If your answer is no, that is, that there is a behavior that has a biological advantage which is not conveyed to future generations, then the next question you should ask is, what is special about the biological advantage that becoming shocked to loud noises has, that has made it get conveyed to future generations. Okay, so again, you have the generic assumption in the form of a conditional proposition, and then you have the question it leads to, which is again, what's special about this biological advantage that has gotten it conveyed to future generations. Okay. Now, if you want more practice, you can go to books.google.com, type in a keyword to search, initiate your search, click on Search Tools below the search bar, then click on Any Books, and then click on Preview Available. Select a book. Within that book, you'll do a search. You'll type in because, as in the causal indicator, and then per your own judgment, you're going to formulate a standard causal statement, and then you'll convert it into a more generic conditional proposition. Now, I need to be clear that in order to convert a standard causal statement into a more generic conditional proposition, that means the sentence that you form must be more specific than the generic conditional proposition. If the standard causal statement is already generic, you cannot make it more generic, or you may not be able to make it more generic in the conditional proposition. So, something to keep in mind. Alright, next up I'm going to talk about how to convert multiple statements into a single conditional proposition. I took this text right out of an article called The Youngest American Woman Billionaire with In and Out. And I want to show you how I can take this text and convert it into a single conditional proposition. The goal would be to, again, highlight a assumption within the text. Okay, I'll go into that in greater detail in the next video. Alright, thank you.